Well, I mean, he harassed me early on in my tenure at Fox, and we got past it. And so those promotions and all that happened after we got past it. But I was scared when it happened to me. I was a second-year reporter at Fox. I wasn't the me that I am now. I had no power in the industry at all, and no power at Fox News. I was working in the DC bureau, and I was doing it. I was doing well. I was making my bones. I was reporting on big cases at the Supreme Court using my legal background, breaking news. The Duke alleged rape case was a big case for me, and I got that one right, and most reporters didn't. It was good for me. You know, my career was going well. And so when he started, it wasn't clear. Like, he was always bawdy and had an inappropriate sense of humor. But I've never been, some people feel differently, but I've never been somebody who really takes offense at that. And so I was quick to write off the comments like, oh, that's just him. So the harassment that I went through wasn't obviously harassment in the beginning, and then it graduated. You know, it just got worse and worse and worse to the point where you couldn't deny it. And it was explicit quid pro quo sexual harassment, which was, you know, basically you sleep with me and I'll give you a promotion. And even in those moments, I tried to laugh it off and pretend I wasn't hearing what I was hearing, or try to pretend that I had misunderstood, because I didn't want a direct confrontation with him. You know, I didn't want to have to reject him explicitly. And I think this is telling, because a lot of women to whom this happens in the workplace have this calculation where you're thinking, holy, you know what? My whole job is on the line right now. The last thing I want to do is upset and reject my boss. You know, we generally want to charm our bosses and have them feel good about us. And truly, the culmination of it was in his office when, because you'd go in there and he'd shut the door and he'd lock the door.
It's terrifying.
And you would sort of shrug it off because he was known to be very paranoid about security. But that feeling I'll never forget, of like going in there and having him lock that door. And then, so it culminated in him trying to be with me physically. And it was only at that point where you couldn't pretend it wasn't happening anymore, that I really had to come to terms with it. And I ran out of the guy's office. I mean, he tried to grab me 3 times, make out with me, which he didn't. But I had to shove him off of me. And he came back, and I shoved him again, and he came back a 3rd time. And then when I shoved him off the 3rd time, he asked me when my contract was up.
Oh my God. Wow. So how do you clearly went on from that, and I think in your book you talk about you distanced yourself as much as you could from him after these things.
Well, I reported it to a supervisor who told me just steer clear of him.
Wow.
Which really, I mean, at the time seemed like good advice because it was a good way to navigate forward, but in retrospect was terrible, terrible advice.